Bjorn Ironside's insane journey after his father Ragnar Lothbrok. Bjorn Ironside is a legendary Viking. The story surrounding his raids alongside his brothers and his father is most widely known from three sources, all of which are those of Viking chieftain Ragnar Lothbrok. The story of Ragnar Lothbrok, the tale of Ragnar's sons, and Saxo Grammaticus, which dates back to the 13th century. Here he is, the son of Ragnar and Aslaug, and his most famous and commonly known brother, Ivar the Boneless. Now, let's dive together into the story of Bjorn Ironside and find out all the historical facts surrounding his life. The world of Vikings is full of interesting characters and stories, but few are as compelling as that of Bjorn Ironside. Bjorn was the son of the legendary Ragnar Lothbrok and followed in his father's footsteps by becoming a powerful Viking warrior and leader. But Bjorn's journey did not end there, and in this video we will be exploring his insane journey after his father's death. From his travels to new lands to his battles with powerful enemies and his eventful rise to power, we will be diving deep into the untold story of Bjorn Ironside. We have a number of documents, books and objects that depict different aspects of his life. We can comprehend and study his history and adventures. You may help the historical saga by enjoying, sharing and subscribing to our channel, which allows for the creation of these videos. Thank you very much for your participation in our community. Now let us proceed to the topic. Now let us transport you to the 9th century Scandinavia, where Bjorn's story begins. We know precious little about Bjorn's childhood, but he was born sometime in the 9th century. The name given to him at birth was Bjorn Ragnarsson, and his father was King Ragnar Lothbrok and his mother was the seer Aslaug. Bjorn would earn the moniker of Ironside by helping his father King Ragnar in a battle along with his half-brothers Fridolif and Radabard, when his father King Ragnar met with the rebel King Sol of Sweden, where King Sol chose Starkid as his champion along with his band of 7 sons to fight Ragnar. Ragnar chose his sons to share the glory of the battle with him. The fight was in sight of both armies, and Ragnar and his sons emerged from the duel victorious, having killed all 8 of their opponents. It is said that Bjorn slaughtered his foes without taking any wounds during the battle. Bjorn Ironside then rallied his soldiers and strengthened his side. He and his army would then charge at King Sol's forces, and in a bloody rage they would slaughter them. They fought as if the gods were watching them. Seeing the champion and sons of King Sol slain on the battlefield emboldened Ragnar to attack and kill King Sol. After King Sol fell, Bjorn and his brothers led the charge, which resulted in the enemy being completely obliterated. No mercy was shown that day, and after a 3-day battle they finally killed King Muriel, but they had lost many men in the process, and Bjorn's half-brothers Danwart and Radabard were among the fallen. After the battle with the Scots, Bjorn went back to his home kingdom, and after many expeditions he received tidings of his father's death at the hands of King Ella. He received this information while playing a game of dice, and it is reported that he clenched the dice so hard that he wrung blood from his fingers, which proceeded to drop onto the table, and he then stated, "Fate is more fickle than this dice." After some time, Bjorn and his brothers would make their way to Northumbria with a fleet of 400 ships. Bjorn would openly declare war against King Ella, thirsty for vengeance. Soon enough, Bjorn would meet up with his brother Ivar the Boneless, and their forces would combine to form the Great Pagan Army. When Bjorn and Ivar engaged the enemy, they shattered King Ella's warriors and wiped out his whole army, causing an immense amount of destruction. Bjorn and his brothers then ordered the execution of King Ella by Blood Eagle. During this process, they also sorted the mangled flesh of the king and rejoiced, for they had crushed their most ruthless foe, and the spirit of their father Ragnar would rest knowing he had been avenged by his sons. Bjorn then went back to his own kingdom and left his brother Ivar the Boneless to govern England. Following in his father's footsteps, Bjorn and his brother Hvitserk raided northern France, but at the end, instead of returning to Norway upon hearing of the rich lands of the Mediterranean, Bjorn and his brother decided to venture onward. The two brothers raided the Spanish coast all the way around. In the summer of the following year, Bjorn proceeded to raid the city of Pisa. While in Pisa, Bjorn learned that the holy city of Rome lay within his grasp, only a short journey inland. Knowing the wealth that had recently been plundered from various abbeys in England and France, Bjorn anticipated the vast wealth that could be plundered from the central city of Christendom. Unfortunately for Bjorn, he had been deceived about how distant Rome was, so when he and his army arrived at the town of Luna, they assumed they had arrived in Rome and began a siege. However, the Vikings had met their match in Luna, and the siege turned into a prolonged engagement as they were unable to breach the town walls. Eager to get inside, Bjorn would have to think of a plan, and he fabricated an incredible deception. Bjorn told his men to spread a rumor and let it be known to the Bishop of Luna that he had died and converted to Christianity on his deathbed, and wished to be buried in consecrated land inside the town and receive a Christian burial. After hearing of these news, the bishop granted permission for Bjorn's remains to be carried in by a small honor guard. However, once his coffin was placed in the church, Bjorn surprised the assembled clerics by leaping from it, after which he and his honor guard hacked a bloody path towards the town gates, opening them and allowing his army in to sack the town, plunder it, and take all the riches as their own. Bjorn proved to be cunning as well as a mighty warrior, and emboldened by this victory, he launched further raids into Sicily and North Africa. However, on his journey back from Spain, the Arab kings foresaw his arrival and gathered a fleet to oppose him. Bjorn's fleet was ravaged by the Saracen fleet, which bombarded the Vikings with Greek fire, a substance similar to napalm invented by the Eastern Roman Empire. Bjorn lost 40 of his ships and the majority of his loot, but managed to escape. He then raided the Christian parts of Spain on his way home to boost the morale of his men. He then returned to Norway with enough plunder to live out the rest of his days as a rich man. When Ragnar Lothbrok died, Scandinavia was divided between Bjorn and his brothers. Bjorn gained the Kingdom of Sweden, where he formed the family of Munsa, which governed Sweden for numerous generations before becoming the royal family of Denmark. Bjorn also had two sons, Refil and Erik Bjornsson, who became the next king of Sweden according to the Saga of Erik the Red. Bjorn also had another son named Aslaug, who was the ancestor of Dodfinn Kadselfne, a famous Viking explorer who established a settlement in Northern America known in Sweden as the House of Munsa. The old dynasty took its name from the island where Bjorn Ironside was said to be buried in a burrow known as Bjornjaslinus Hog, crowned by a stone with a runic inscription. In conclusion, we can say Bjorn Ironside was a renowned Viking warrior and a commander from the 9th century. He was one of the famous sons of the legendary Viking Ragnar Lothbrok, and his deeds are recounted in several Norse sagas and other historical chronicles. Bjorn Ironside was a great warrior and a leader who took part in several wars and raids across Scandinavia and Europe. He is arguably most remembered for leading a fleet of ships to attack the city of York during the Great Heathen Army's invasion of England. Bjorn Ironside's military skills and valor aided the Vikings in their successful conquest of the majority of England. Bjorn Ironside was well known for his exploration in addition to his military successes. He undertook a number of excursions to the Mediterranean, where he conducted trade with the Byzantine Empire and other Middle Eastern countries. His voyages contributed to the Vikings' reputation as excellent mariners and traders. Despite his great triumphs, historians continue to argue about the actual nature of Bjorn Ironside's character and the scope of his achievements. Some historians feel that most of what we know about him is based on myth and tradition, while others believe he was a real historical character whose achievements were simply embellished throughout the passage of time. Finally, Bjorn Ironside was a complex and intriguing man whose legacy has lasted for generations. His feats continue to inspire and enchant people all across the world, whether he was a mythical hero or a real man whose achievements have simply been mythologized. Bjorn was a warrior and a commander on par with his legendary father Ragnar Lothbrok, both of whom have left long-lasting legacies. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section down below on what you think of Bjorn Ironside. Was he as successful as his father Ragnar and his brother Ivar the Boneless? Share your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll see you soon for another untold story of the past.